All right. It is officially Sunday, believe it or not. Um, Another week of college football has come and gone, and I gotta say, while things certainly were interesting, I think that we gotta admit that they not a whole lot's gonna change in the playoff picture. I don't think. We'll talk a little more about that as we go along. Um, but yeah, again, welcome in. It's Sunday, November 16th, 2025, which means we are officially 2 weeks out from the end of the regular season, barring the Army Navy game. But 2 weeks out from the end of the regular season, which is a pretty exciting thing for a handful of reasons. And not because football is almost over. Nobody's excited for that. But
I
this
might
is
be, but no.
this is the first season that I've been doing this channel that I've gotten through the entirety of the season. In 2023, of course, we were still doing Loudmouth CFB. I decided not to carry this forward throughout the full season. Just did my team previews on the side, basically, during that time. Last year, did do it full time, or intended to do it full time, and had my appendix removed midway through the season, and really just kind of took me out for a few weeks, and I just never really got back on the right routine to get it done once I started a new job and everything. So right now, we are currently further into the season than we've ever been, and pretty excited because this means it'll be our first full season here at Armchair Analysis, of course, or on this channel in general, and that's a pretty fun, exciting prospect for the rest of this 2025 year. So hopefully we can go through there with no issues and keep getting after it. With that said, though, there were quite a few storylines coming out of yesterday. Of course, the big one, Texas is likely eliminated from college football playoff contention. I think they could still make it. It requires a win over A&M. Um,
Mhm.
but I got to be honest, I'd be surprised if they end up ranked in the top 15. I think they'll probably fall out down to like 18. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is with the third loss, the only bad loss at this point that you could say for them is the Florida loss, but they're all three losses. Um, two of the top five or top four teams in the country, depending on where they end up moving things around based on something else that we'll talk about later on in the show. Two losses on the road to top five teams, and a bad loss. Like if
but if the
they
metric does it right, it will take into account these close,
mhm,
ugly games
with
against teams that
Mississippi
they
State and
should have
Kentucky,
dominated. I
yeah,
mean, that's what this metric is for, right? Is for strength of schedule,
hmm
strength of record. So if that's the case, the strength of this 5-0, or not 5-0, the strength of whatever they are, 7-3, or yeah, it'd be
hmm
7-3. The strength of 7-3 doesn't look all that great. I mean, you've lost to everybody that you have pretty much been expected to lose to, or really preseason expected to beat in some cases.
yeah.
And you almost blew a lead. You've won three straight games by one possession or less, um, and you got you got pushed around yesterday. I mean, they were physically dominated
Yeah,
throughout the entirety of that game against Georgia. There was not a time
yeah.
where I felt in doubt that that game was going to be in the hands of the Bulldogs. So
Well, I
to
mean,
me,
and you look at
I don't know. I just can't sit here and say that
right.
I'm really a big fan of them being up there. And they're going to play Texas
I
A&M, who we'll talk more about that game later. But
hmm
um, they're going to play Texas A&M, who the fire's been lit now. I mean, let's just
hmm
put that lightly. They're no longer walking into any game thinking they can just beat whoever they play. So that's going to make it tougher. It's just, to me, I don't think that this team is playoff worthy. I just don't,
no,
in no world. And they can finish 9-3. I still don't think they are, and I think there are two lost teams ahead of them that would be better suited to make this playoff than what we currently see. That's just what I
I,
personally
yeah.
think.
I'm in agreement with that. I think that I mean, if you're looking for a way, there's always in theory a way to include them, because that's there is the notion that it on a weekly basis could change, but I don't think that it's going to. I mean, I think that we're looking right now at last year there was talk of the 2-loss Miami, the 3-loss Alabama, the 3-loss South Carolina, the 3-loss Ole Miss, all battling in that range for 12, where Clemson jumps in and takes a bid, and SMU gets that last spot. I think that quartet of teams that were just on the outside looking in is where Texas will find themselves now.
It's possible. We'll talk.
Even with a win to A&M, that would
Yeah,
include, because if they're 4 losses, there's no chance.
no. Um, when you look at this game, the one thing we kind of wondered was Texas getting their healthy running backs, having their guys healthy supposedly,
Hmm.
and that's great, that's fine and dandy, but they still can't push
Hmm.
anybody on the offensive line. They really
Hmm.
struggle at the true point of attack, and it showed. 17 carries for 23 yards. Eventually, they just kind of quit trying. They
Yeah.
utilized more screen passes and stuff like that to try to extend the run game a little bit, but they nothing ever got going. Arch Manning wasn't terrible, I wouldn't say, but I just
Hmm.
he, he's not capable yet of winning games for you.
Hmm.
That's just all I'll say. It's not a dig
Yeah.
at him, because I think there's a chance
No.
that he could get there. I think that he needs another offseason. I think he needs a little more training, but it's not to say he
Well,
can't get there and be the guy that can go out and win a game for you. Because we
and
just
remember, it's a team sport. It shouldn't have to be just something that he has to go out there and do it all on his own.
okay. Some days you're gonna have to. Some days you're gonna have to go out there and be the guy that takes over a game. If he can't do that, that's fine. But there are guys in college football that can and will,
Hmm.
and at which point you will not see Arch Manning playing at the P5 level anymore. Georgia, on the other hand, much like RJ's about to say, you do win games in the
Hmm.
trenches. They dominated on the defensive line all day long. They controlled Texas O line as much as they wanted to. You top that off with they ran for 128 yards, which is a pretty decent number against this Texas defense. They've not really allowed much of anything on the ground this year.
Yeah.
128 yards is an impressive feat with two rushers over 4 yards per carry. Gunnar Stockton, though, 229 yards on 24 of 29, 4 touchdowns and a pick. I'm not going to say took over the game, but I'm certainly going to say that without that stat line, this game's a lot closer.
Hmm.
I mean, he did what he needed to do, and that's what I'm talking about. That's the experience. That's the ability to create the plays. I'm not saying that he was. I'm not saying that he was great. I'm not saying he was the guy and the only reason they won the game, because there's plenty of reasons in this entire thing why they won this game. And
Hmm.
if one guy's doing it for you, you're not winning a game 35-10. Plain and simple. This was just an all-around great effort. Georgia has Texas' number still to this point, and I think the gap's getting worse simply because I just don't think Arch Manning is there yet. We'll see. This is going to be a really interesting one. RJ, Texas defense was mind blowing to me. I don't want to call it mind blowing. I just think that this is what we saw at the end of the Vanderbilt game. This is kind of what started to happen to them there, and
Yeah.
then in this game, they were just simply outclassed. I mean, they were on their
Yeah.
toes all game long. And when you have a quarterback like Gunnar Stockton who does come out here and go 24-29, I mean, he was just good.
Yeah.
And yes, I do
Uh,
agree with that. Backed off coverage was not the play. It reminded me a lot in this situation of what Jim Knowles did against Ohio State. Backed everybody off at Penn State and let Jeremiah Smith get these catches 4 or 5 yards downfield and then create with yards after the catch. That's kind of what we saw last night. It's
and
it's an interesting spot for Texas. I don't want to spend too much time on them.
yeah.
As for Georgia, I don't really want to spend too much time on them either. They continue to do what they need to do. They're pretty much
Yeah.
in unless they collapse. But they have, I think, FCS
They
something or
got
other next week.
Charlotte. I think, next week, and then Georgia
So,
Tech. Which even if they lose to Georgia Tech, I don't think they're going to be kept out.
so yeah, they got
They're,
FCS something or other next week, and then Georgia Tech. I know Charlotte's not FCS, but goddamn, do they play like it? Um, all right, let's go ahead and go to this other big time SEC game, and then we'll talk about some other things. Oklahoma gets the win over Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Back-to-back years with wins, not quite as dominating as it was last year. Remember that 27-3 victory for the Sooners last year,
yeah,
but really just a game that almost went the way you expected it to go, and somehow Oklahoma still wins this game. I mean, this game, you let me just throw some stats out there. I don't care if you're looking at them. Let me throw some stats out there for anybody to hear. Okay, 15 to 23 for 138, no touchdowns, no interceptions. That's Mateer's stat line. All right, that was pretty par for what I figured. I thought maybe he'd get over 150, but that's about it. Oklahoma's rushing attack, 28 carries for 74 yards and a touchdown. Okay, interesting. Oklahoma wins the turnover battle 2-1.
I thought it was 3-0, wasn't it?
Hang on, maybe I misread that. Get on the right fucking page. Doing this on my phone is really obnoxious, but it's what I have to do. Yeah, 3-0. They lose it. Oklahoma loses the time of possession battle, 34-28 to 25-32. They lose the penalty battle, 5 penalties for 37 yards to 2 penalties for 25 yards. Somehow, Oklahoma wins this game, and it's simply because of the turnovers. I mean,
Yeah.
you seldom lose the turnover battle 3-0 or worse and win a game. Alabama turned the ball over in some very key positions, including, I believe, a red zone turnover, a couple other mistakes throughout there, and
There was a pick six that flipped the what could have been a 7-3 Alabama lead in the first quarter into a 10-0 Oklahoma advantage. A muff punt by I want to say it was Ryan Williams that muffed a punt.
He did not muff the punt.
Put,
He got the ball punched out on the return.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. It was on a punt.
Yeah, it was.
And
it was just ugly stuff. And they had another. So the one I was thinking of in the red zone was one that got called back. But even then, it was still not a great throw. I mean, Ty Simpson did not place the ball well. Played himself out of the Heisman. Yeah. I think we can officially go that far with this. And I just think that the Kalen DeBoer doesn't know how to play this Venables defense. I'm going to be completely honest. I mean, Alabama didn't run for shit. We didn't expect them to. They threw the ball fine, 300-plus yards, but just mistake after mistake and play calls that played right into what Venables wanted to do were probably some of the biggest factors in this game. I'm trying to find stats. I'd love to, at least, of sacks. 4 of them in this game for the Oklahoma defense. Something that we certainly had circled in this game. If you remember correctly, I went back previewing this game, and that was the second game we previewed this week. Oklahoma had 97 tackles for loss, 33 sacks, and 138 QB hurries on the season. I'm sure they upped all those numbers, but now they have 37 sacks at certainty, and added another
5 tackles for loss.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly did what they needed to do, what was expected of them, and I apologize. I keep having to go back and forth through my phone because that's the only way I can see it. Otherwise, you wouldn't see BJ. So, the things I do for this. We look at other things too. Like, it's not even like third down conversions were a big difference because they weren't. 5 of 13 from Alabama, 3 of 13 from Oklahoma. Like, these teams did not move the ball very well. Alabama did, I guess. They had close to 400 yards of offense, but you just. Sorry, they had over 406, but Oklahoma didn't. They didn't move the ball worth a damn, and they win this game just simply off of turnovers. And there's other games that we're going to talk about that turnovers played a big factor in, but this one they played the biggest because this completely altered the result. Oklahoma stays in the playoff race.
I mean, here's the thing: you look at, um, if you told me the stat line, outside of the turnovers, you would think that Alabama won this game dominantly, and that's kind of what it felt like it was trending towards when you looked at it from an outsider perspective.
Yeah.
If you look at this game and the stats, everything, besides the turnovers, everything that we thought was going to happen pretty much played out the way that we thought it would. Alabama didn't run the ball well against Oklahoma's defense. Okay, but they can still throw it all over them and have success, and they did. I mean, like you said, Ty Simpson 326 yards through the air. Not a whole lot of touchdowns, but you don't expect necessarily it to be a blowout, perhaps. But when you have three turnovers, like you said, it legitimately changed the outcome of this game. It was one of those things that um, just is you can't have happen, especially if you're Ty Simpson and you get your second interception all season long, and it gets returned 87 yards for a touchdown. If you're Ryan Williams, you hold on to the football on a punt return that sets up, I believe, an Oklahoma field goal. You cannot have those things happen if you want to be still in contention, because now not only does it keep Oklahoma alive in the playoff discussion, Alabama's path to Atlanta is not necessarily a given. There's still a lot of things that have to play out that way, and they still have to beat Auburn in Jordan Hare, which has not been easy over the years, even if Auburn is not as good as they once were here over this season. They still have talent. They still, can. I mean, what we saw against Vanderbilt last week from Auburn, it should really scare the living hell out of Alabama if they finally found something offensively and they were able to take Vandy all the way into overtime down the wire before they lost that one. You know, Alabama's going to have to regroup and refocus in and, clean up some of the sloppiness that we saw yesterday if they want to, keep all their preseason goals in front of them. They're not eliminated from the playoff or anything like that, but one more loss and it's going to be very treacherous for a second year in a row.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would really consider Auburn playing Vandy close to be a big sticking point.
Well, no, I just
I mean,
mean,
Alabama dominated Vanderbilt, and
yeah,
like, sure, Auburn's played good games and they've had a good defense, but Alabama completely took Vanderbilt apart. I don't
right.
the matchups don't particularly lean in favor of Auburn, but I'm sure
No,
they could find a way
but it's
defensively.
also rivalry week in a voodoo stadium that we've seen some crazy moments before. And I mean, just the fact alone that it's rivalry week here in a couple weeks, after what we saw in the Horseshoe last year, any given Saturday, a team can find a way to really kind of blow this thing wide open.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna play that up. Anyways, what I will
By
play
the
up
way,
though is next week in Norman. Missouri played damn good yesterday, and
mm-hmm.
there's a shot that Missouri completely halts this whole thing because if Oklahoma can't move the ball, by the way, Ahmad Hardy just went
Yeah,
off yesterday.
mm-hmm.
Um, if Oklahoma's not got this shit figured out, you're not gonna win every game like this.
No,
And this Missouri team has just proven that they can take care of business. This is a big situation that I'm starting to buy Missouri to pull the upset next Saturday. I'm not sure that's what I'm going to say when it comes to it, but I'm certainly playing into that going forward because I can see a world where where that turns into a an upset spot.
the way, so RJ points out, rightfully so, that this was the first home loss for Alabama under DeBoer, and it now gives you the
The
longest
first home
active
loss,
home
not
winning
the
streak.
first loss.
Well, I thought that's what I said,
No, yeah,
but
you missed the home part, but yeah.
first home loss, yes.
Yeah.
It now gives the longest active home winning streak in the country to a team that is not used to having it. Let's just say that it's the Hoosiers of Indiana. Signetti has not lost a home game since he got to Indiana, and they now have the nation's longest active home winning streak.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah.
Definitely not what we expected. All right. Let's go. Trying to think where I want to go. Let's go to the other big game real quick that we were talking about yesterday. Notre Dame just dominates Pitt, and to be honest,
Yeah.
this is kind of where we thought this game was going to go. A freshman quarterback against a team like this is just going to struggle, and that's simply what we said. At least that's what I know. I said was there was a point in this game where I felt like it was going to become a bit of a tough spot for Mason Henschel, and it was. 16 to
Hmm.
33 for 126 yards and an interception. So bad that they brought Holstein back in. They couldn't run the ball. Des Reed went down with another injury, which you hate to see that part. He had
Which
63
sucks.
receiving yards yesterday. 63 receiving yards. Um, but beyond that, I mean, they just didn't move the ball, and the defense. I think I don't want to say quite did their part, but I think they did a decent job. They had a pick six at one point in this game that brought it back. The last minute or last second touchdown put the over. Well, actually, it still went under 55.5, but I've alternated the spread to hit an alternate spread at 49.5, over 49.5 on the points. And thank you, Pitt.
And you got it.
Thank you, Pitt, for scoring that last touchdown. Um, but this game honestly went the direction I thought it was going to go. Freshman quarterback with some struggles. I didn't quite think this bad of struggles, especially against, again, we talked about it. Notre Dame had a 96 ranked pass defense. We expected that Pitt was going to struggle or going to be able to throw the ball at least a little bit, but the big storyline was 16 interceptions going into the game. That was third in the country.
Hmm.
I know they were behind Maryland, who stays in second, but they added one to that total with 17 interceptions, still third in the country, and playing a really good brand of football. I I don't know, man. I think that I'm not doubting Pitt. I still think they have everything to play for going forward, but I
Hmm.
certainly Georgia Tech's going to be an interesting game. I think they'll have the ability to play a good game against Georgia Tech. It's going to be the Miami
Hmm.
game that's going to determine whether or not Pitt makes it to Charlotte and then ultimately makes it to the college football playoff from that. So um, it's still in front of them,
Yes.
100%. But they got pretty much destroyed yesterday, and I don't particularly see that being a difference against this Miami defense either. So to me, I think this game is a bit of a precursor for 2 weeks from now, personally.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Look, I'm not going to come out and criticize what Narduzzi said because at the end of the day, he wasn't wrong in saying that they could lose by 100 and it doesn't matter in terms of what they can still accomplish. But it's also not necessarily the right tone that you want to, be saying at least before your team is, getting ready to host this, big time, in essence rivalry matchup and uh, trying to make a statement in front of a national audience um, with college game day there and everything like that. And first couple drives, it looked like okay, well, Pitt's going to hang around for a bit. Then you see, Jeremiah Love hit a spin move and go to the house, and 10 seconds later, Mason Henschel throws a pick six, and suddenly, before you even had a chance to catch your breath, it's 14-0, and it's just one of those things that from there it didn't get too much worse. I don't think that Pitt was, so egregiously robbed, but there were some things that were, a little interesting that, uh, broke Notre Dame's way. Looked like maybe a fumble at the end of the first half that I don't think would have mattered. Pittsburgh, at that point hadn't, you know, their kicker was not, Ben Saul's level accurate, and even if you get that fumble there with 2 seconds to go, I don't know if you get any more points there. I thought in real time that the the drive that just before the pick six that got Pitt a touchdown in the third quarter, that the Pitt player was down short of the goal line, and sure enough, he was. I don't think that that was, egregious rob or anything like that. Um, but it's just one of those things that it's a game of inches, and just Notre Dame came out and was the better team in multiple facets, and just kind of had their way
Yeah.
once the momentum really swung in their favor early in that game. It was not Pitt's day.
Yeah. CJ Carr, 21 of 32 for 212, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks himself. I mean, he wasn't necessarily perfect, but comes down to the legs of Jeremiah Love. 23 carries
Yeah.
for 147 and a touchdown, 6.4 per carry. I mean, he was good, and
Yeah.
Pitt's D line got moved. Let's call that what it was. I mean, they got moved at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Now the linebackers played well, the safeties played well. They did their job, but up front they got moved, and I hate to do this again and repeat the same thing I just said, but that's precursor to the exact same thing you're going to get with Miami, a team that is probably going to rely on the run game just as much. I mean, this is not going to be an easy, Pitt's going to go and win next week. I called Pitt going 9-0 and losing their final 3 this season, losing these 3 games that started here. They lose to Georgia Tech because it's in between Notre Dame and Miami.
Yeah.
It's still on the table for that to be the case. Now, they weren't going to be 9-0. They were 7-2, but they could finish the season 7-5. And what was a good year to this point, they could finish 7-5 because of the way that these final 3 games could go, especially if they can't get to it. I think next week they'll be fine. I just don't feel overly confident either way in that game next week.
Yeah.
The Miami game, though, I am 100% kind of flipped. I'm now leaning with Miami in that game. We'll get to that game. That's a couple
a couple weeks away so.
From now. Let's go to this other ranked matchup real quick. Iowa and USC played in some interesting conditions out there in LA. It did rain, and it rained the whole game, and it seemed to only pick up, actually, as a matter of fact, as this game went on. It was 21-7 Iowa at halftime. Yes, they found their offense in the first half. Marganowski played well. They ran the ball well. 183 yards on the ground for this Iowa rushing attack. But you look at USC, and they surprisingly did this through the air. 254 passing yards and a touchdown from Jaden Mayaba, and 19 second-half points. That leads to again, 26-21 victory for USC. Leads to the underhitting, which helps me on that take 10. Thank you guys very much for not scoring in that last 15 minutes. This was kind of the game that... This game played out in a way that I could have seen coming, but was uncertain due to the weather, right? We didn't know exactly how much it was going to rain. USC really had to kind of rely on their ground game at the end of this thing because it started to pick up at the end. It wasn't quite as bad throughout the first 3 quarters, but as the fourth quarter set in, it started to let go, and that's where we saw some of the problems arise for these offenses. Who we didn't see a problem for, that's Mekhi Lemon with 10 catches and 153 yards and a touchdown. He was phenomenal all day yesterday. Probably the biggest reason why they won this game. He won every single matchup he was in. This is a USC team that I think is legit, and we're gonna see them next week. I think it is in up there in Eugene,
Oregon,
and it is on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna see them in Eugene on Saturday, and I'm not saying it's going to happen because I think Dan Lane's going to have his team ready for this game, certainly. But we've seen a different Oregon since the Indiana game. We've seen an Oregon team that just hasn't quite dominated teams the way they normally would or should in a lot of cases. We saw that 21-7 game against Wisconsin. We saw 18-16 last week. I guess they did come out and beat Rutgers the week after, pretty much immediately, 56-10. But since then, been some closer games. Friday night, they took care of business against Minnesota. This is going to be an interesting game. I can see a world where USC hangs around and maybe even wins this game. Injuries have kind of set in on this Oregon receiver room, and when they play a team that I think could hang with them in the department of coverage, I think that think USC has a real legit shot to get this done on Saturday. We'll talk more about it as the week goes on. As a matter of fact, it's going to be a game we
Yeah,
preview this week. Um,
and I don't blame you there.
but that's going to be certainly interesting. We'll talk a little more about that later on in the week. But a big win, a resilient win for USC, something we haven't really seen when they get behind under Lincoln Riley yet. And
Yeah,
they fought back in the second half. That was a deserved, like a well deserved win, and one that I think really is a bit of an indication of where this program's going. I think it's a really good direction.
yeah, I'm right there with you. Look, I thought that USC would be able to, outlast Iowa, but when, like you said, when Iowa went up 21-7, I'm like, well, this is just playing in perfectly because it's basically just like last week what they wanted to do, the way the football that they want to play, and it's just a little bit warmer. So, the only thing that's really changed is that the it doesn't really feel like you're getting struck with ice pellets. You are actually feeling legitimate rain, and it feels good on the skin when it's coming down on you from the air. And don't pause or anything like that. Let's just keep right on moving.
Jesus
But
Christ.
here's the thing: you look at when it was 21-7, USC with a great drive in the first half, getting at least a field goal, knowing that they were going to get the ball to start second half. How do you take a 2 touchdown deficit and turn it around? Is you get points before the half. You start up the third quarter. Another, they had 2 drives that were 17 plays, a combined 122 yards. They get 6 points out of a possible 14, but that's okay. You force Iowa to punt. Then you go down the field, you score a touchdown. You don't get the 2, but it's a 2-point game. Very next drive, Iowa throws a pick. You're in business. You get a touchdown right there at the start of the fourth quarter. Don't get the 2, or you get the extra point to make it a 5-point lead. And then from there, you just play field position, punt, punt. And the fourth down try that Iowa driving down the field, getting close to the red zone. This is it. This is their last shot. And play great defense. Make sure that the Iowa receiver cannot get that toe down inbounds on the sidelines for the first down, and that's the anatomy of a a 14-point comeback win. It wasn't anything too flashy, but it worked, and this is something that we just have not seen from Lincoln Riley USC teams or even Lincoln Riley teams of the past. This is kind of counterintuitive, but it works, and this is how you find ways to win games in the Big Ten. And I mean, so much for these California teams are going to struggle. We'll ignore UCLA for the moment, but USC, knowing what they were about to walk into, it took a couple years for them to build up to it, but they finally have positioned themselves outside of that sphere of the slinging thrashers that they were in the Pac-12 days. This is I think, a legitimate club that can beat you in different ways in the Big Ten.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm getting a visitor today, so that's lovely.
Oh,
Mike, what do you want? What are you doing? Just want attention. Hi.
Yeah, I was about to say, which one?
Isla.
Isla.
Yeah, she's down here with me this morning. But
How
all right,
sweet.
let's stay in the Big Ten real quick. Let's go to you mind? Just for a minute. Let's go to Wrigley Field. Good Lord, man, I was pissed the entire time watching this game. I was so mad. Honestly, probably the most angry I've been watching a Michigan game in a really long time. I mean, this goes back to 2018 against Notre Dame, maybe. The game where we just couldn't fucking keep a hold of the football. Lost that game by 3 because we lost the turnover battle on that one. This game, on the other hand, was a bit of a different story. Kind of the same story, but we win. This game, to me, was... It's interesting for me to look back on it now because I feel like I'm going to contradict a lot of things I said during, but in the moment, I think, versus hindsight's a little different. This is a game that was... It put a lot of adversity on this Michigan program, on the young players of this team. There were a lot of freshmen on the field. And those freshmen had to make a lot of different plays at different times in this game. Northwestern did what I thought they were going to do. They gave us hell, and that's what they should
Hmm.
do. That's what I expect of Northwestern. They are not those who believe that Northwestern as a team that's tied for the most losses or has the most losses. I think it's tied, is what it said in the on the or on the graphic on Fox. I
Yeah, I
think it
saw
was.
that graphic, but I thought they passed, but
It's fine.
it's no big
I'm
deal.
not
Yeah.
particularly worried about it. What I'm trying to say is, though, a team like that, though, this is a team that still fights in every single game, and especially in the Pat
Hmm.
Fitzgerald era. Like from there on, this is a team that has never just been a team that gets completely blown out. A few times they be
Yeah.
overclassed or outclassed in some games, but they don't typically just get completely blown out. And
Hmm.
shout out current or former Northwestern quarterback Mike Kafka, current Giants head coach. Good luck today. Um, but you don't expect Northwestern to just lay down and quit. And the David Braun era hasn't been that way either. They have been
No.
much better than I think anybody expected. Last year was a down year. They've come back this year, and they've and minus the first game where Preston Stone just threw too many interceptions. He's been
Well, you
really
didn't
good.
see him, so they didn't
Well,
count.
yeah, exactly. I didn't see him, but he's been really, really solid for
Yeah.
Northwestern standard at quarterback. Like he's done the job, and so that was an interesting game from them. Bryce Underwood played a good game. Go back to these freshmen for a minute. Bryce Underwood was good, 280 yards, 21 of 32. That was an efficient day. Two bad interceptions, two freshman mistake interceptions. It okay. That's gonna happen. What am I supposed to do about that? What are we supposed to say to him? Not don't throw the ball. He made
Right.
one of them was a complete misread what
Hmm.
was an RPO. He tried to throw the slant instead of just giving it to Jordan Marshall, which would have gone about 6 or 7 yards. Decided to throw it instead and threw it right into the hands of Fitzgerald, the other Fitzgerald on the defense there.
Hmm.
Um, okay, couple turnovers, other turnovers, fumble from Andrew Marsh, of course, that was on a play that just should not have happened. That play should have never been called in that moment, but okay. Bryson Cusdall fumbled on that 4th and 1, I think it was. They gave
Yeah.
them pretty good field position. They didn't capitalize on. Samaj Morgan, I'm pretty fed up with him, to be completely honest. I mean, this is a weekly occurrence that he's making some sort of mistake or just not making a play. Um, fumbles on a punt
Even though
return.
he recovered that.
Okay, that's the one like thing I'll turn around. This is not a Samaj Morgan like hate because of this one play. That all year
No.
long we have seen that like he just has not ever gotten better as a player in
Yeah.
this program. But the point I'm trying to make here, yes, he did fall on that fumble, and yes, he did recover it, and yes, before the referee even
Pulled the pile apart.
yeah before the referee even goes close to the pile, he's already signaling Northwestern ball. He's 5-10 yards away on the near side. You can watch him immediately signal Northwestern ball. He didn't even go fucking look in the pile.
Yeah.
And then he goes to the pile, pulls him out, and there's Samaj Morgan with the ball, who fell on the ball originally. You can see it in the replay that he comes out with the ball, and they still gave it to Northwestern. That one was the only one that I was like, man, that's a bit fucked up. But anyways,
Yeah.
injuries happen in this game on top of these mistakes, right? Jordan Marshall goes down with a shoulder injury. X-ray's negative, thankfully, but Jordan Marshall goes down with that shoulder injury. Zach Marshall went down with an injury, was holding like his lower back, so hopefully he's all right. Um, which related then to Bryson Cusdall being the one to get the ball in the big
Yeah.
moments. And for a former walk-on, for a player who had to step up in this game, he did a hell of a job.
Oh yeah.
15 carries for 53 yards. He wasn't fantastic, but he's got speed, and he's going to be
Hmm.
I think he's going to be a really fun player to watch as he continues to build, right? He's a guy that Sherman Moore said earlier this week, even before that, was going to get a lot more carries this week as it was. He did. Wasn't terrible. I wasn't upset with him. Bryce Underwood was solid on the ground himself. Took a couple sacks to take away from his rushing yardage, but he was okay.
Hmm. He had a great fake that pretty much fooled almost everybody, including the Fox cameraman on the touchdown run. That I think at that point it was 21-6 or 21-9,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And at that point, Michigan, it felt like they were cruising right along, and everything was going to be okay. And then I think, like you said, part of that was when Jordan Marshall went down, and I don't think that Michigan lost that spark, but then that's
Jordan
when it
Marshall went
felt like
down on the drive with which we were going down and didn't kick the first field goal with
okay,
like 6 minutes ago.
okay,
Northwestern just fought back into the game. Like
yeah,
Northwestern fought back into the game, and there was an interception in there that turned
yeah,
the game around. That's what that was, and
yeah,
that's all. That's all it needs to be said.
right,
This team had a lot of mistakes yesterday. A lot of mistakes.
hmm
Lost the turnover battle 5-0. I have not in my life, and I don't believe it's ever happened. I've tried some research. I have not found anything yet. I have never seen a team lose a turnover battle 5-0 and still win the game
I
until
think I
yesterday.
saw it. I thought I saw it in the NFL level. I thought Dallas did it in Buffalo on
Oh,
a
did I
Monday
say
night.
NFL? Okay, I didn't know
No,
this was an NFL show.
well, I
Um,
was. That's the only thing that I could think of, though.
yeah,
I like you said, it doesn't happen that often,
no,
so that's why
I
I
mean,
was trying to help you
look at
out.
all of these categories here real quick. I'm just gonna read through these. First downs, 25-11, Michigan. Third down efficiency, 9-14 for Michigan, 2-12 for Northwestern. Fourth down, Northwestern has the advantage. They were 1-1. Michigan was 0 for 1, the fumble. Yards, Michigan 496. That's not a bad day for this Michigan offense. 496 is a hell of a day.
Yeah,
245 to Northwestern though. Passing, Michigan takes over that one, believe it or not. 280 to 184. Rushing, Michigan leads that category, 216 to 61, dominating on their run game. They had a few bigger runs, but that was about it. Lose the turnover battle 5-0. Win the penalties 4 for 24 versus 7 of 55, and win time of possession 33-06 to 26-54. Every stat in this game says Michigan should have won this game, probably closer to 38-12, maybe.
something like
I
that, yeah.
mean that's because they were in range for a handful of field goals, maybe a
hmm
38-16 game. Everything says Michigan should have dominated this game and won this game. It's 5 turnovers. That right there, that stat line tells you just how important every turnover in the game is.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And that just shows you how important it is to take care of the ball and how 5 turnovers can absolutely fuck you out of a game.
Well, go back to what we were talking about in the Alabama-Oklahoma game. This is like we alluded to. This felt like it was going to be another example.
3-0 turned into a 2-point difference on the other
Mhm.
side, and 5-0 turned into what could have been an upset, a 22-21 upset yesterday in Wrigley Field.
Yeah. It got so bad. I think after the last interception or the last turnover, I just went ahead in our pick'em standings. I marked it as a loss because I picked Michigan, and it wasn't until I was going back late last night or early this morning, filling all of them out, that I was like, man, I marked that as a loss and they won. I don't know why I didn't change that. So it was crazy. It was one of those things that, despite the turnovers, when the defense comes up big, and obviously I know you talked about it, but just a um, you know as good as the defense was in the first half, where I think Northwestern had maybe 100 and something yards of total offense. That was it for the entirety of the first half. They came to life and fought back in the second half, but when Michigan needed the stops defensively after turnovers, they came through in a big way and just, didn't make it, anything too difficult, just asserted their will, their dominance with the rushing attack to get themselves in range and set up Zapata for the game-winning field goal. So um, got to give the tip of the cap to Michigan for handling the adversity and fighting back in a game that seemed like it could have been lost for quite a big
May
moment there.
I throw a quick comparison out there?
Go ahead.
2022. Michigan goes in, I believe, 2 weeks before they play Ohio State, face Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Struggle, turnovers, mistakes.
Yeah.
Blake Corum goes down with an injury. Jordan Marshall yesterday goes down with an injury. Michigan sneaks away with that game on a late field goal. Last second field goal, I think. Michigan makes the playoffs by beating Ohio State later in the season. This might have been the game that opened some things up, right? Because the passing game was opened up. They let Bryce Underwood throw the football, and Andrew Marsh was fantastic, another freshman. You got multiple freshmen on the offensive line who are playing really good football, and they're moving people now. Like, they are starting to really, really play well as an offensive line, as a unit. I'm not completely buying Michigan to beat Ohio State because I think that Ohio State team is really good, and it's going to be tough to do. But I certainly think that it's not quite impossible. Like, we saw a struggle game 3 years ago, and they came back and won. We saw struggle games all year last year, and they still beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's going to be an interesting game in 2 weeks. They got to beat Maryland next week on the road. That's going to be an interesting spot. Maryland didn't look quite as good as I thought they might yesterday against Illinois. So hopefully that's a good sign for next week. To walk in 9-2 and with a chance to make the playoff is as cool as it can get. So that'll be an interesting one. With that said, what else do we have to go through? Really, not a lot of anything. So let's go through Power 5 real quick, and then we'll go Group of 5, and then we'll go ahead and get out of here today. So in the ACC, we talked yesterday about Friday, but Clemson beat Louisville 20-19 on Friday. That was the first top 25 upset we saw. Again, Notre Dame 37-15 over Pitt. Miami 41-7 over NC State. Georgia Tech.
Yeah, it was 41-0, I think, at one point. So.
Yeah. Georgia Tech finds a way back, finds a way to win this game against Boston College, but man, you just cannot keep struggling. I mean, you can't keep putting yourself in position to lose games and think that Haynes King's just going to bail you out of it. I mean, it's not always going to happen. Next week's going to be an interesting game. That Georgia Tech and Pitt game is going to be a lot. Could have eliminated Georgia Tech.
Yeah, this was 28-17 going in the fourth quarter in favor of BC, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, there was Georgia Tech almost pulled a Mario Cristobal at the very end. They were in field goal range and could have taken it all the way down to 3 seconds and kicked a game-winning walk-off field goal. But Brett Key used the timeout with like 14 seconds. And they kick it and get the field goal to go up 36-34. But BC immediately hits a play to the 50-yard line, spikes the ball, and has a shot with 4 seconds to go. If a prayer had been answered, it would have been like another Doug Flutie moment for Boston College.
And you could see him saying that he didn't mean to call the timeout. Like, he was arguing with the ref. He was like, I didn't mean, like, that was not what I was saying. And I think the ref mistakenly
gave it to him.
Gave him the timeout early. I think he was trying to say, run it down to 3, and I'm going to take the timeout. Because coaches say that all the time. Coaches will be like, hey, run this clock down to here, and that's where we want our timeout.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. They get out of it with a win, but what a
great effort from BC, but just a little too short.
Speaking of great efforts, Virginia 34-17 dominate Duke. I mean, just absolutely dominate them. Finally, we can say Duke is no longer in contention for the ACC title.
Yeah,
and I
think the ACC chaos scenario is out the door now.
Yeah, Virginia has still a path of their own they have to create, but it's really just they get a bye week and then they play Virginia Tech. So they are 1 win away from a 10-win season, believe that or not.
That's crazy.
So congrats to them. They win next week, they'll make their way to Charlotte. Wake Forest 28-12 victory over North Carolina. They have Delaware and Duke remaining on their schedule. Wake could finish 9-3.
I think that might be even more crazy, to be honest with you.
Wake can go 9-3 this year. And year 1 under Jake Dickert. And that is something that I did not expect we'd be saying. I had them at 6-6. I thought I was optimistic at 6-6. They have blown expectations out of the water.
remember, if that game had been officiated fairly at the end, Wake Forest against Georgia Tech, that would be Wake Forest 8-2, 5-2 in conference. They'd have the tiebreaker over Georgia Tech. They'd still be in contention to go to Charlotte as well.
Yeah.
With just a crazy, absurd season in the ACC.
Yes. Florida State gets a win over Virginia Tech 34-14. They moved to 5-5. Virginia Tech's 3-7. The silver lining for Tech is supposedly a deal is all but done with James Franklin to be the next head coach there. So that'll be interesting. I'm pretty excited for them, honestly. Yeah. I mean, look, I think everybody can make their jokes about James Franklin and his ability to win the big games at Penn State or whatever, and they can make their jokes about the way this year fell into their hands. I don't really put it on him as much as people want to.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech's going to get a good coach who knows how to recruit that area, and Virginia Tech's going to become a contender in the ACC on a year-to-year basis. And that's all they want is to be a contender on a year-to-year basis. If that's the case,
that's a perfect hire, perfect fit.
Yeah, that's all they're doing.
And I mean, let's be honest, Tyler. What do you in the ACC? You get maybe 1 or 2 big games every year at most. I mean, there's
I mean, you'll have Miami, and then maybe the other Clemson, Cinderella, whatever run Florida team State anymore. But that's it. And I mean, that's
this is perfect. I mean, if you wanted 9-3, 10-2, kind of as the
you want anything from 7 to 10
baseline
at Virginia Tech. You want to be anywhere from 7-5 to 10-2 in the regular season, and if they can do that on a year-to-year basis, he's going to be there for as long as he wants. Plain and simple.
I mean, this is going to be Virginia Tech. I think is about to. We're really going to be seeing some interesting, showdowns between Tony Elliott and James Franklin in the Virginia Tech showdown. That's going to be a fun.
Assuming Tony Elliott's not gone and not going to be somebody that gets plucked somewhere,
I was about to say, unless he gets the promotion, that's a good call.
All right, Big 12. Texas Tech, they did their business. 48-9.
I think it was a 48-2 game at one point.
Yeah, Joey Rodriguez gets himself a rushing touchdown to add to his Heisman resume.
Give him the Heisman.
But all told, that was kind of the game we expected them to have down there.
Yeah.
BYU dominates TCU. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I'm truly surprised. I don't think I said it last night, and I'm going to say it here too, because I truly buy this here. I have not seen TCU get pushed at the line of scrimmage like that since they played Georgia.
No.
I mean, genuinely, and really since that playoff run, because I think that TCU did get moved by the Michigan offensive line. It was just the turnovers, once again, that played a factor in that game too. Yeah. I have not seen TCU get moved since that playoff run. Even in their 5-7 year, they never got pushed off the line that bad in their existence. That's not a coordinator problem. That's not a play calling issue on defense, because believe me, they had the ideas in mind. That is strength and conditioning. All through. That's bad. That's terrible, as a matter of fact. I don't know what the future is of Sonny Dykes there. This was the year that they were supposed to have everything figured out. They had leaders on defense. They had leaders on offense. And they couldn't seem to figure any of it out. The offense has not looked good, but it's not play calling. I watched it. I looked at it. Guys are open. Josh Hoover's making the wrong reads. He's making wrong decisions left and right. And I don't know what the fix is, because it feels like it's a confidence thing. We saw him arguing on the sideline with Eric McAllister at a point last night. Like, it was really bad. I don't know, but I just have to think that this is not this is going downhill pretty quick, and it's not quite what they wanted to see.
After last night, I'm not necessarily as much on the Browse train. I'm just three more games of Josh Hoover, and then get him the heck out. Let's move on.
Utah takes a trip to Waco, and basically it might as well have been a nice leisurely vacation. 55-28 for the Utes. They get it done in Lane Stadium, so it's a big one for them.
Most interesting thing that happened is that a Baylor receiver tried to stunt after a touchdown reception down like 27 in the fourth quarter. Punches were thrown and two guys got ejected.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, one for Baylor, one for Utah.
Yeah.
The receiver that punched.
I'm disappointed to report to you that Cincinnati did not win after drawing dicks on their field, so that's a shame.
Absurd.
30-24, Arizona wins. They move to 7-3 now. Cincinnati falls to 7-3, coincidentally. And,
the Territorial Cup is going to be fascinating to watch too.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited for this Arizona team. Brent Brennan's done a really good job kind of sorting things out after the year one, just trying to figure out where they were, and then going into this year, they've done a solid job. I don't know if they'll finish 9-3, but they're definitely a team and that I would consider in like most improved categories.
Yeah. I mean, they got Baylor before the road trip to Tempe. So,
all right. K-State beats Oklahoma State 14-6. I don't have any interest in talking about anything from that game. That was horrible. And then Arizona State beats West Virginia 25-23 on a late field goal. West Virginia unable to answer it at the end there. You can see the things in motion for West Virginia though. Like they're playing really good ball. It's just RJ said it. I kind of agree with him. Mistakes at the line of scrimmage. Just things not quite clicking yet on the line of scrimmage. Everything else seems pretty solid. Scotty Fox is playing well. He's gonna have freshman mistakes, but he's playing well. That was a game that I think was winnable for them yesterday. They should have been able to put themselves at 5-6, but unfortunately, fall to 4-7. It's a very likely 4-8. I think just with the way Texas Tech's played, I don't foresee that being a close game. But a very good effort through this month of November. If they lose by 2 scores or less, I'd say it's a pretty solid momentum builder for next year.
I'm right there with you. Look, at the end of the day, I think Rich Rod, said it best at the start of his post-game press conference. You can't win too often if you're running for less than 2 yards a carry. This was a West Virginia rushing attack that just did not get enough done offensively. Scotty Fox, balled out 350 yards through the air, but just needed something more on the ground to balance that. And they ran for 68 yards on 39 carries. That's just it. It's just not enough to get it done.
Yeah, and some of that comes from Scotty Fox, 16 for 7 yards, and some of that comes down from sacks and stuff. But just a unfortunate game for them, certainly.
Yeah.
Run through the Big Ten again. Oregon beat Minnesota Friday, 42-13. Michigan beats Northwestern 24-22. Ohio State dominates UCLA as we expected.
Yeah.
I mean, that game was a definite tone changer with Nico out, but even with him in, it wouldn't have been close.
Right.
Indiana beats Wisconsin 31-7. It was tied at 7 at one point. Not particularly worried. They are a win away. Friday night in 2 weeks. They are a win away from an undefeated regular season.
Yeah, first ever 11-0 start for the Hoosiers and the nation's longest active home winning streak in Bloomington, Indiana.
Yep. USC 26-21 over Iowa. Penn State, thank you, dominates Michigan State. That was a good game. Ethan Grunkemeier's played really well, by the way. I'm very excited for his future. Illinois 24-6 over Maryland. Go ahead.
I was to say Penn State still has an outside shot at getting themselves into bowl eligibility if they can beat Nebraska and then win at Rutgers, which I mean Nebraska is going to be the tougher of the two. But
I don't know. I don't know. If they can stop the run with Emmett Johnson, it's fine. But without Dylan Raiola, they haven't been able to throw the ball.
That's fair.
I mean, their passing game ran through Emmett Johnson last week when in their game. That they just. I think Rutgers is going to be the tougher game. That's just they're healthier. That's the biggest story there.
Right.
Illinois beat Maryland 24-6, and then
Cover.
Washington flattened Purdue 49-13.
Yeah. Don't worry, Purdue. The season's almost over. You just got the Indiana Hoosiers coming to town. Yeah. So.
SEC, Texas A&M 31, South Carolina 30. It was 30-3 South Carolina at halftime, and If that's not enough of a
is the
reason to fire this entire staff, please,
But
please do it.
let me play devil's advocate. Let me
No,
lay out
no. 27 plus point leaders over the last 20, 21
21
years
years. Yeah,
had never lost.
I know.
They blew
But
this game from the beginning. Didn't coach this game very well. Absolutely not. There is no excuse to lose this game. Not even fucking close. I will not hear
I
one.
I I agree, but if you were told before the game in the ultimate monkey's fist scenario that you only lose by 1 point on the road to the number 3 team in the
Don't give
country,
a fuck.
regardless of
Don't give a.
how
I
it
don't
played
care,
out,
BJ. I don't care. You're not gonna get me to be okay with this. There is no excuse to lose a game you were up 27 in. I don't care
I
if you
agree.
lose by 1 to the number 3 team or by 50 to the number 3 team. No excuse to lose a game that you were up 27 points in.
I agree.
No excuse. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. This coaching staff's already on the hot seat, already should be on the hot seat. They should be gone after this one. It's miserable play calling. They didn't do anything on offense worth a damn. Couldn't get the run game going. Couldn't figure it out. Couldn't figure out how to throw the ball in the second half. Everything the first half built, they couldn't do it anymore. Why?
Yeah.
I don't know. They just decided they were not going to come out and play football anymore. So no, there's no excuse, and it's it comes down to coaching, comes down to complacency or something or other on this team, because they're 1-7 in the SEC with a team that's arguably better than what they had last year.
Hmm.
This whole staff needs to be fired, and the problem is they're going to fire into this current coaching carousel where there's not really a good answer right now. Because you're going to have to compete with LSU, Penn State, Ole Miss likely, because Florida's already got their guy. You're going to have to also compete with Vandy, likely, who's going to be losing their guy. Penn State, who I think I've already mentioned, but maybe not. UCLA, who seemingly has figured out who they want to go after. What in the hell is South Carolina going to have to do if they end up joining this party?
Yeah.
Not a clue. Not a single clue, because they're not going to win the Summerall sweepstakes, which is what I would prefer to have happen. That's not going to happen. And there's nobody else in the group of 5 level that's going to come up and do it. And there's nobody at the Power 5 level that wants to go to South Carolina and coach. Not a single one. It would all be a downgrade at this very moment, sadly, because they're gonna likely lose should this coaching staff be fired. Probably going to lose him anyways. Dylan Stewart is probably going to find himself a new home. Lenore Sellers either going to the draft or he's transferring out to go build his draft stock up a little further. Nick Harbor, I'd be surprised if he stays after what he has put on, the show he's put on all year. The South Carolina team's in trouble. This program is in trouble because they've let this go on a bit too long this year, unfortunately. And again, there's not many options that I think I would take as the head coach of South Carolina beyond John Summerall, and I don't think there's anybody currently in this game that would take this job at the Power 4 level. I mean, we look at teams outperforming expectations. Maybe Tony Elliott, maybe, but is South Carolina going to be a better job than Virginia? I don't know. Just because Tony Elliott's doing a good job at Virginia in the ACC doesn't mean he can come to the SEC and do it. And I could say the same thing about the majority of coaches at any Big 12 or ACC school. So, yeah, I'm blown away, man. I am beyond pissed. I mean, I can't tell you how high the blood pressure probably was at about 3 o'clock yesterday, but it was skyrocketing. I was furious with everything going on. We go look at these stats for just a moment, I guess, since we're already on this subject. Lenore Sellers played well. 15 of 30, 246, 2 touchdowns and a pick. 121 yards rushing on 3.7 per carry. It wasn't bad, but it could have been better. 102 receiving yards for Nick Harbor. 2 interceptions from Bakari Swain. Yet they get outgained 503 to 388 because they couldn't move the ball in the second half. 3 and outs galore through that. 439 passing yards. Gave up only 64 rushing yards. Really slowed down Ruben Owens and Marcel Reed on the ground, but
Mm-hmm.
didn't matter, man. It's just, yeah, it's anybody should be pissed off about losing a game like that. Anybody, and I'm not immune. That's for sure. Um, Oklahoma beats Alabama 23-21. Georgia beats Texas 35-10. Ole Miss 34-24 over Florida. That was a close game all the way through. Ole Miss gets a late score. Didn't a late cover, it's just a late score.
Mm-hmm.
But they stay alive, and that's kind of the name of the game this year, staying alive. Tennessee beats New Mexico State 42-9. The old school Joey Aguilar came out throwing multiple interceptions and pissing away drives, so that's awesome. Had Tennessee over 55.5, I think, in this game. Should have been 2 drives. 2 drives they could score touchdowns on. LSU beats Arkansas 23-22. Michael Van Buren got his first start in that game. Curious, actually. Let me look at his stats.
I think 21-31, 221 through the air at least.
Yeah, that was it, and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Added 36 rushing yards. Not a bad day for the first start for him down there.
Kentucky, I mean, Arkansas got off to a lead. I thought that it was kind of playing out the way that I thought it would, and then Taylor Green a couple of picks. LSU
they led
right
all the way until LSU took the lead at the end there
in the fourth.
Win it,
yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky beats Tennessee Tech 42-10, and then Missouri 49-27 over Mississippi State, which was led by 300 rushing yards from Ahmad Hardy, 25 carries, 300 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Matt Zollers 8 of 15. Yeah, Zollers 8 of 15 for 112 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, not a bad first start for him, but obviously he didn't need to do much when you got a running back like that. So we'll see again. I think Oklahoma's on upset alert next week, but we'll get to that as the week goes on. Roll through the G5 real quick. Navy beat South Florida 41-38 in what was about a bit of a shootout, but Navy just always stayed up by that one score, that field goal, essentially, as the game went on. UTSA beat Charlotte 28-7. That was a cover in the Take 10. Tulsa beats Oregon State 31-14. So that's
gross.
That was interesting. North Texas 53-24. I told you the over was going to hit in that game. That was definite over there. ECU beats Memphis 31-27, staying in the competition for this conference title. As a matter of fact,
we're down to 4. We're down to 4 now. And
they currently sit in 4th, but they do play. I believe they have another game, I think, to play into. No, sorry, they play UTSA and FAU. All they got to do is win out, while other teams will face off against each other. I believe it is. So, like Navy, I think plays Tulane, maybe. Still yet in the season?
Navy had Memphis, right?
Is it Memphis? It's one of those two.
Yeah, it's Memphis on Thanksgiving night.
Yeah, so Navy could lose, theoretically. Tulane, their path is pretty simple. They got Temple and Charlotte. They are not losing either of those 2 games. And then that's...
North Texas, I think, is still alive as well. They've got... they got the win over Navy, and they got Rice and Temple. What do we do if all 4 of these teams finish 7-1 in conference play? How do we even break that tie?
I believe it's a coin flip at a gas station. I think is how that's done. I'll have to ask the state of Texas how that's supposed to be.
I'm familiar with that. Yes.
Okay. Tulane beats FAU 35-24. FAU has UConn next week. On the road, UConn in Boca Raton. FAU, 1 win away from that overhitting on their win total. They just need 5. Moving on from that, Conference USA. Missouri State beat UTEP 38-24. Western Kentucky 42-26, a backdoor cover on that game. I am Western Kentucky minus 14.5, and we got it at the very end. That game was a 1-possession game the whole way. FIU 34-27 over Liberty in overtime. Man, what a surprise that game turned into. I mean, we figured, right? FIU could hang around. But what a disaster Liberty's had this year. Their season has not been worth anything.
No.
Sam Houston beats Delaware 26-23. Their second win of the season, by the way.
And this was a late push from Delaware. It was 26-10, I think, at the start of the
Yeah.
fourth quarter or early in the fourth quarter.
Why do you
Delaware
say
made
I
it
think? I
game,
know you're
but
on the stats.
no,
Don't you have
well,
the box
I'm
score on
remember-
your screen?
I'm remembering the scoreboard from last night, and that's why I know it was early in the fourth quarter. I couldn't remember if it was like the start of the fourth quarter or if it was early in the fourth quarter. But yeah, this was a game that Sam Houston, they were down in the first half. They come from behind. They're tied at 10, and then that third quarter put it on ice essentially.
All right. Jacksonville State remains undefeated in conference play. Can you not stop trying to lick my face? I don't care if you're near me. Just 35-26. Jacksonville State beats Kennesaw State. Good call there.
Yeah,
remain undefeated in conference play.
Three picks for Kennesaw State.
Washington State beats Louisiana Tech 28-3. Supposedly they're going to be on site with game day next week. Hooray! Plenty of FCS options, but we get that. So
gross.
Yeah.
Ew.
MAC Saturday action. Eastern Michigan beats Ball State 24-9. The under hits. That's all I cared about in that game. But thanks for playing.
Awesome.
UConn wins 26-16 over Air Force. They finished the season unbeaten at home.
Yeah.
Undefeated at home, thanks to that Duke win. So good for them.
Also, Joey Fagano threw his first pick of the year.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
He had a pick yesterday. It was a sloppy first half for UConn.
Yeah. New Mexico beats Colorado State 20-17. That game was New Mexico's for a long time, and then Colorado State kind of charged back into it. Nevada, that's probably the surprise of the day. 55-10 win over San Jose State. I mean, they absolutely flattened San Jose. I don't even know what to say of that. San Jose State were 9.5 point favorites going into this game.
Right. I hadn't seen the final score. I heard Nevada won, but I didn't even know until just looking at it. My goodness.
UNLV and Utah State.
Was it senior day or something? That's the only explanation I've got.
I don't know. But UNLV Utah State played maybe the game of the day yesterday. 29-26 UNLV after both kickers missed a field goal in the first overtime. Utah State's kicker avenges himself, makes the field goal to make it a 26-23 game. UNLV first play of their possession score a touchdown to win it. So the cardiac Ags, man, that was. I felt heartbroken for Cam all the same, and then hey, but Utah State covered, so we had a good week yesterday. By the way, I'll talk about that take 10 here in a minute. San Diego State beats Boise State 17-7, another cover on that one, and then Fresno State beats Wyoming 24-3. So good win for them.
I was about to say there's a ton of options for who will. At least in theory now. I mean, San Diego State has not clinched anything, but San Diego State looks like they've got the inside track for a spot in the Mountain West title game. But who they're going to play?
They pretty much hold all the tiebreakers.
Still. Yeah.
The only one they don't hold is over Hawaii.
Yeah.
So I think San Diego State's pretty safe, but I think they got two more games to play before we fully have that.
Anoint them, yeah.
All right, Sun Belt. Marshall covers Georgia State 30-18. Covers 7.5 in that game. Another help for us. JMU beats App State 58-10. My God, dude. I didn't know it was that bad, but I knew it was bad.
State got on the board. Yeah.
South Alabama beats UL Monroe 26-14. Texas State 41-14 victory over Southern Miss. This was not the game that you thought it was going to be. This is not why you thought it was going to happen that way. Braylon Braxton did not play.
I was talking about the South Alabama, but yes.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Texas State game. Like this game, Texas State hung around. The spread was low for a reason. We figured it out after the game started that Braylon Braxton did not play. This is a tough deal there. I think Southern Miss is still in the driver's seat, but they have to beat Troy now, essentially, because both of them lost a game this week. So they have to beat Troy in 2 weeks. Georgia Southern beats Coastal Carolina 45-40. Believe it or not, this game was 35-32 at halftime.
Holy cow!
Yeah, that was something else.
Jeez.
or sorry, 35-27. My bad.
27. Yeah.
My bad. Nonetheless, 35-27 at halftime. Not a lot of points in the second half. Coastal does not cover 3.5, sadly, which is what we were looking for. They had a chance late, couldn't get it done. So that is your look around the world here. One thing I do know, we've got some interesting games next week, and some games that I'm going to really be looking at. And now I'm talking FCS level here for just a minute. Harvard and Yale. 9-0 Harvard goes on the road to Yale for a chance to finish 10-0 in the season. Win the Ivy League. I think they win it either way. As a matter of fact, I think they have clinched the Ivy League standings. But I'm sure
share of Ivy title with the walk-off field goal from 53 yards.
So they clinch at least a share. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So they have to beat Yale to win the Ivy League. Interesting. Even though they play a round robin and they could determine. Okay. All right. Whatever. Anyways, Lehigh and Lafayette. 11-0 Lehigh looking to close off a 12-0 season with a win over 8-3 Lafayette next week. That'll be an interesting game. That's going to be on at 12:30. These are just games I'm not going to get to throughout the week for obvious reasons. But they're games that are worth at least making a mention of. Montana
Tennessee
State.
Tech and UT Martin.
Yeah. 9-2 Montana State goes on the road to face 11-0 Montana. Top 10 matchup in the FCS as far as I'm aware. That's a big deal next Saturday. We're curious to see how that goes.
That's the Brawl of the Wild, right?
Yes, it is.
Why is game day not going there, man? Why?
Because they would rather go to JMU and hype up this potential playoff team and not give the FCS or lower divisions their due. I mean, that's the obvious reason, right? Because there are I just pointed out 3 games that have serious implications of the FCS playoffs. Nobody wants to talk about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
East Texas A&M will play UT Rio Grande.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
8-3.
First time they ever faced
8-3 in their first season. Hell of a year.
They're gonna be 9-3. They're gonna be 9-3.
Hang on a second. Is this who I think it is? It is Eddie Lee Marburger, former UTSA quarterback. Is the quarterback for Rio Grande. I didn't know that. I saw the name. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But
blast from the past.
A little bit. All right. Well, I think that kind of rounds us out on the majority of this. You have anything I'm missing? Anything you think I could be missing?
No, I don't think so.
Kind of a preview of what the week's gonna look like here, but excuse me, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Other than what the week's gonna look like here, I don't think there's a whole lot to add.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you said, game day, should have gone to FCS level. I understand why they didn't do, the Battle of the Ravine at the D2 level. That was one of those that was, getting some severe, people were fighting for it and everything like that. I understand why they went to Pitt, but I'll give you the final score of that game if I can find it. But I knew they weren't going to. But this week it does feel like it would have been a perfect FCS week as opposed to going to JMU.
Yeah. So I think we're going to preview Missouri and Oklahoma. I know I didn't think I would, but unfortunately some other results have kind of led to that. BYU goes to Cincinnati. That's got a chance. I'm not
huge.
100% certain on that with Cincinnati having just lost. Same with Pitt and Georgia Tech. And USC and Oregon certainly getting one. So I know we'll do USC Oregon. Yeah. I know we'll do Missouri Oklahoma. I'm almost certain of those two. Third one, I don't know what it'll be, but we'll get it figured out.
Yeah. By the way, Henderson State beat Ouachita Baptist 41-14 in that Battle of the Ravine. My mic cracking in and out? Is that something you've noticed, Tyler?
I haven't heard it, so I did not notice it.
That's
why I haven't said nothing because I haven't heard it.
Yeah.
Just going through, seeing if there's any other matchups I'd want to give some time here.
I don't think so, because this is always the week where it feels like there's not as many good matchups because everything is getting locked in and ready for rivalry weekend, which is going to be, I mean, huge. There's going to be so many great games that we won't talk about, in terms of previews, that I feel like we could absolutely preview.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really not seeing anything that's like huge even at the G5 level that I could do that would be like a impact on. I mean, maybe Hawaii and UNLV. Maybe that'll be get a preview instead, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But
Okay. Was momentarily apparently, but not
yeah.
anymore.
With that
Rivalry weekend without the brawl equals trash. I can certainly appreciate that.
though. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know why I'm not tired.
BYU
I mean, I got half an.
BYU and Utah should be here. Baylor and TCU should be playing this weekend. I'm fully in agreement that it's rivalry weekend. We should have every conceivable rivalry that isn't already a predetermined point in the calendar, like Texas OU, Tennessee, Alabama. Some of these other matchups should be this weekend, or well, not this weekend, but next weekend.
Yeah, 100%. But with that said, let's go ahead and get out of here for the day. We got some
Let's do it.
other stuff to take care of, so I'll see you all tomorrow. We'll get a new top 25 out and see what else we can come up with. But appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank y'all so much for the support. Those of you who are new around here, if you're still here at this point, please leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. Let us know all your thoughts on this past week. And we'll be back again tomorrow. I got a top 25 to give you. We'll have 3 previews from Tuesday to Thursday, more than likely, unless I choose not to. And then we'll get another Take 10 out on Friday. Again, we went 7-3 this week. 7-3.
Okay.
That's the best week we've had all season. And it comes after a 6-4 week, which was at that time tied for the best week we'd had all season. We've got those hits were UTSA minus 17.5, San Diego State minus 1.5, Western Kentucky minus 14.5, Iowa USC under 48.5, Eastern Michigan and Ball State under 48.5, Marshall minus 7.5 against Georgia State, and Utah State plus 6.5 against UNLV. The misses were Bama minus 5.5, Coastal plus 3.5, and then Illinois Maryland over 51.5. So 7-3, not a bad week. That's the kind of weeks we were shooting for at the beginning of the year. So hopefully we can have another one of those here momentarily in the next couple weeks and keep rolling. So appreciate you guys so much. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the NFL slate if you do. If not, well, I can't blame you. So hope you all have a good rest of your day. We'll see you all tomorrow.